Tonight, a rally in Port Lincoln joining thousands calling for more climate protection, and the CFS takes to the skies to train for real-life scenarios.
With the latest from around the region, your nightly news with Louise Hedger begins now.
Good evening. Students and teachers in Port Lincoln have joined the global fight for climate action, staging a major protest by leaving school early as part of a global activist movement. The rally, one of many around the country and the world.
Protesters crying out in the hopes our government will listen. Port Lincoln students and teachers walking out of the classroom, rallying together to demand better action against what they're labelling a climate crisis.
I hope politicians see and realise that we're scared, and that's the only way to put it. We're scared for our future. We don't know what's going to happen, and we need climate policies.
The climate change situation is a climate crisis. We are seeing climate systems being destroyed.
Protesters young and old from across the Eyre Peninsula joining others around the world, rallying together in what's called one of the largest climate strikes ever attempted.
So I don't need to live on the moon because there's no houses and trees or animals.
Port Lincoln's event organised by 17-year-old student Georgia Solly from Tumby Bay.
Just reading what the scientists are saying and how long we have, it's not long, and to think I'm only 17, how long am I going to be here for?
Students are aiming to have their voices heard by rallying here on the foreshore. With many too young to vote, this is their way of getting our government to listen to their concerns.
I believe that we need to be 100% renewables, as renewable energy as soon as possible.
If we don't divest from fossil fuel immediately and use renewables in place of fossil fuels, we're in for a very grim future.
The government says it's already trying to tackle the issue and that today's protests are nothing more than a distraction.
I believe they'd learn more at school than they would protesting.
Despite this, rallies are showing no sign of slowing down. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Community leaders have gathered in Whyalla to create a plan to manage waste over the next 5 years. The Port Pirie Mayor is calling on the South Australian Government to help fund a recycling initiative.
Embarking the war on waste in the Upper Spencer Gulf, community leaders across the region today presenting the Waste and Resource Recovery Strategy.
Given us an opportunity to stand up and say we need to deal with our own problem. I think the Upper Spencer Gulf is well situated because we have rail and road corridors that we can use.
Members of Parliament visiting as part of a statewide inquiry into recycling.
First regional visit, and we've only had the opportunity to come here apart from some close urban areas.
Industry professionals who work with waste every day say this 5-year plan is crucial for the region.
What we've got to do is find regional solutions for glass, plastic, tyres so that we don't take them back to the city.
Councils in the Upper Spencer Gulf region have committed to further consultations like today's to ensure a sustainable waste management future.
But the reality is we ought to be heading towards a circular economy where nothing is discarded.
While Port Pirie's Mayor is calling on the state government to cut waste levy costs.
I'd like to see those levies come back so we can actually turn them into good projects and start working back. Then it also creates employment.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Volunteer fire crews from across South Australia have taken to the skies over Port Pirie as part of a major training exercise before the bushfire season gets underway. The Country Fire Service spending the week undertaking aviation training drills over Talawi Gorge.
Protecting us from above. The sound of propellers rumbling through Port Pirie, our firefighting squadron taking flight. The CFS busy this week displaying its firefighting power at Port Pirie's aerodrome.
What we're simulating is a fire in a gully in Talawi Gorge, and so we've got some red plastic Forticon out there which simulates the fire edges.
A Cessna 208 Caravan, 2 rotary helicopters and 2 fixed-wing water bombers. There's plenty of toys on show. 38 air crewmen from across the state taking part in the simulation in preparation for real-life situations.
My main activities over the weekend will be around aerial mapping and photography. Going up and taking photos of assets that are potentially under threat.
Ground crewmen put under the pump, loading 3,000 litres of water into each bomber in just 3 minutes.
So the crews do work exceptionally hard, especially when we've got multiple aircraft working, to fill those bombers and get them back into the sky as quickly as possible.
The CFS warning landowners to do their bit before the start of the fire season. Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A South Australian railway lobby group says a lease agreement between the government and a private railway company has been breached. The Regional Rail Alliance says Genesee and Wyoming has failed to retain maintenance on the dormant Mid-North Railway line.
It's either been removed or covered over by bitumen, and a lot of the track is out of alignment and would not support any rail movement on the tracks at all.
The Transport Minister didn't provide a response in time for deadline. Suicide prevention groups are calling for regional South Australians to support each other in tough times in an effort to reduce the number of people taking their own lives. New figures show suicide deaths could increase by up to 40% in the next decade unless urgent support measures are put in place. Experts say issues in remote areas are amplified because of our isolation.
Things such as drought and other environmental factors have a very significant effect on those communities.
And if you or someone you know needs help, please contact Lifeline on 131114. Still to come tonight, a brave young girl loses her locks for a cause, and the Silver City show kicks off with plenty for everyone. Regional doctors in Port Lincoln are coming together to assist with the campaign to attract medical graduates to country towns. The team aiming to highlight the benefits and misconceptions they say is clouding country clinics.
Since moving to Port Lincoln, Dr. Arnie Leshner has fallen in love with the country lifestyle. The father of 3 uprooted his life in Germany more than a decade ago.
Coming from a country where everything is quite crowded and going to pristine beaches where there's no other person is still for me an absolute miracle.
As part of relocation, Dr. Leshner had to spend at least 5 years in a regional community before he could move to the big city. 10 years on and he's still here, excited every day by the unique challenges presented by country clinics.
I look after inpatients, which you usually wouldn't do as a city GP. So the hospital care every day, emergency care.
So we get to see lots of different problems. We get to manage them right through with the help of specialists.
Despite some after-hour work, Dr. Leshner says it's nothing out of the ordinary of what's expected from any general practitioner in any region.
There's a lot of misconception about what the GPs do in the country.
The Rural Doctor Association launching its latest campaign, aiming to attract medical graduates to the Red Centre, a small piece of progress for regional South Australia's clinics.
Rural medicine has, been the poor cousin of city medicine. So there is lots of funding needed for our rural patients.
Nathan Rector, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A Whyalla girl has celebrated her 10th birthday by shaving her head for a special cause. Her proud family say they're surprised by her brave decision, but are proud of her and the money she's raised to support those in need.
A courageous chop for a mighty cause. 10-year-old Navaya committing to raise money for cancer research.
For the people who have been suffering cancer and been going through cancer.
She saw how they were affected by childhood cancer, so yeah, she wanted to do her bit to support families like them.
The grade 5 student raised a whopping $5,700, her family incredibly proud of what their young girl has achieved.
We started off with a $600 target and then $2,000 and then $5,000, so it's really quite amazing.
They're among those who watched Navaya bravely go under the scissors, surprised by her request to have it done on her 10th birthday.
I thought she was just kidding, but then she pushed through and did it.
I was shocked and I was shaking all over because I was thinking of all the teasing and the bullying.
Loved ones rallying to show their support, inspired by her commitment to a cause which affects so many.
Well,
I'm really proud because it takes a lot of gut to do that.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Golf News.
All the fun and excitement of the Silver City Show is back for another year, with the festivities kicking off from last night. Thousands of locals are expected to flock to Memorial Oval to see what's on offer.
From show bags to side shows, from the rides to clown heads, step right up, don't be shy. The Silver City Show getting underway last night, with locals getting their first look at the new attractions. Excited organisers calling it one of the best opening crowds in recent memory.
Last night was our best ever Thursday night, so that's a good start for the weekend. You know, everything looking good, perfect evening.
Bumper cars, quad bikes, sideshow alley, even strawberries and cream. It's all there.
Don't be a wowser, get your hands in your pockets, get out and come up and have a good time and enjoy it like the kids do.
There's plenty of rides on offer for those wanting a bit of fun. Others, though, are strictly for the thrill seekers. Shop stalls are near the pavilion, filled with clothes, trinkets, toys and even some smoked delicacies.
We come here because we love coming to Broken Hill. It was part of my growing up in my late teenagehood.
Keep an eye open on Saturday night for the jaw-dropping fireworks display. Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Golf News.
A Melbourne-based artist working on sculptures in Broken Hill has provided a sneak peek of his progress. Robbie Rowlands is creating 2 installations for the Ridderford Arboretum, incorporating the environment with the region's mining history. After making miniature versions, constructions of the final works have begun.
We're about a third of the way through, if not further. It's hard to tell. Things are really amped up here at the TAFE. I've got a really fantastic crew of locals working on this.
The sculptures will be unveiled later this year. A Spencer Golf real estate office has been honoured as one of the biggest in the country. Ray White, Port Augusta and Whyalla received an elite honour at a recent company awards night for managing the most properties in all of South Australia and the Northern Territory. At the moment, it has almost 1,000 rentals on its books.
We came second in last year. And this year we've managed to grab first place, so yeah, the team are ecstatic.
Ray White Clare Valley also took home the title of the top regional office. No doubt some celebrations there. Stay with us after the break. South Augusta gearing up to face their rivals in tomorrow's grand final, and we'll have the weather details with Alex. Hello again. Grand final fever has hit the upper Spencer Golf, with the South Augusta Bulldogs and Solomon Town Cats preparing for tomorrow's big match. South's aiming to become only the second side in the competition's history to win 4 consecutive titles.
After 20 weekends of footy, it's all built up to this. Solomon Town and South Augusta polishing their preparations ahead of tomorrow's grand final. The Bulldogs are in pole position, looking to make it 4 flags in a row, but that doesn't mean they aren't feeling the heat.
Definitely excited about it, there's no doubt about that, but you know, that just puts more and more pressure on us.
A fast and agile forward line has been the blueprint to their success this year, and they say nothing will change for this weekend.
We've got a lot of pace and a lot of skill up there, so we just stick with that.
But they're wary of the men in blue, who have a point to prove after 2 straight grand final defeats.
Obviously they beat us the last couple of years, but third time's a charm, hopefully.
Their midfield's quite exceptional. A lot of speed.
With both sides claiming victories over each other in the regular season, Port Augusta's Central Oval is shaping up as the perfect venue for the tantalising showdown.
We've beat them a couple of times this year, so it's 2-2, so hopefully all going well, we'll come away with a win.
Be competitive at every contest, I think, is going to give us our best chance, yeah.
The first of 4 matches will begin tomorrow at 9 a.m. Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Now let's hear from the experts with this week's footy tips.
Welcome to Portland Footy Tips and Grand Final week, my favourite time of year. First of all, I'd like to say good luck to all the teams playing tomorrow. And it's worth mentioning that every club's actually got a team playing this year, which is quite astounding. In the A grade, we got Tasmans that went straight through to the grand final, coming up against Mallee Park that beat Marble Range last week. Every time these 2 teams have played, it's been quite an exciting game of football and pretty hard at the ball as well. If the rain holds up tomorrow, which it looks like it will, it's going to be a pretty scrappy game of football. If that's the case, I think Tasmans might have the advantage. I think I'm going to have to go with Tasmans to win this one and win this one by 3 goals and take home the premiership.
Hello and welcome to the grand final edition of SGL Footy Tips. It's going to be a huge day at Port Augusta's Central Oval with all 6 sides being represented on the day. It all starts with Port taking on Central in under 15s and then Port and West in the 18s, followed by Lions and West in the seconds. Then the big one where Solly meets South for the 3rd consecutive year. Sollies are taking the long road through the elimination final and then the prelim. South have been the best side all year with just the 2 defeats this season, but both against their Solly opponents. There's no love lost between these 2 sides and I'm looking forward to a fierce match. South are going for 4 in a row, while the Cats are looking for a repeat of their 2014 triumph. South will start favourites, but won't be taking Sollies lightly. The head says South, but the heart says Sollies, so I'm tipping Sollies.
Now let's have a look what the weather's got in store for your weekend. Here's Alex Sykes.
Thanks, Louise. It's been a pretty windy and hot day across the region. Temperatures ranged in the late 20s to mid-30s across the Gulf, with Port Lincoln reaching 27, Port Pirie and Whyalla reaching a top of 33, Broken Hill up to 29 degrees today, Port Augusta a hot 34, while it was a max of 30 degrees in Adelaide. On the satellite, cloud crossing central, southern and eastern parts of SA with a trough and cold front bringing patchy but widespread rain, which is heaviest over coastal districts. In the west, patchy cloud with cold air may bring some light showers later on. Looking at the waters for tomorrow, west to southwesterly winds around 15 to 15 knots, seas at 2.5 metres, and the sun will rise at 6:14 tomorrow morning with sunset around 6:13. Some rainy conditions expected across the region tomorrow. Port Augusta set for a top of 18 degrees, Whyalla showers and 17, Port Lincoln 16, Coffin Bay down to 13 degrees, Woodness 16, Corn 18, Broken Hill windy and 32, Port Pirie 19, Clare 15, Cleve also 15, Kadina 16 and Adelaide down to 16 degrees. Looking ahead to the next 4 days, more rain expected in Port Lincoln. Tomorrow with 15 moving to a cloudy top of 16 on Monday. Cleve a top of 15 with showery conditions looking to clear, and partly sunny in Woodness tomorrow, 16 on Sunday. Some frost but up to 18 on Monday. Whyalla staying in the late teens with a bit of cloud, a top of 17 on Saturday, staying that way the next few days. Similar conditions in Port Augusta reaching 19 on Sunday, and Kadina 15 and cloudy tomorrow, 16 Sunday, 17 Monday. Some partial cloud in Port Pirie reaching a top of 19 by Saturday. A bit cooler in Clare with rain and a chilly top of 12 tomorrow, 13 on Sunday. And in Broken Hill, the temperature is dropping from tonight down to 18 tomorrow, 19 Sunday and 19 on Monday. And that's all for tonight's weather. Louise, back to you.
All right, thank you for that, Alex. And that's your local news this Friday evening. Thank you for joining us. We'll have updates later, but until then, have a lovely evening. Our team will be back on Monday. Good night.